The Story King presents The Alpha's Mark. Welcome to The Story King, where legends come alive and destinies unfold. The arrow sang through the air like a promise of death. Sera's body moved before her mind could catch up, her instinct born from years of serving in the palace guard, even as an Omega. She saw the glint of silver, the unnatural black mist coiling around the shaft, and the Alpha King's broad back turned away, vulnerable for just one heartbeat. That was all it took. She launched herself forward, her boots skidding on the marble floor of the throne room. The visiting delegation from the northern Pax froze, their faces masks of shock. Time crystallized into fragments, the king's dark eyes beginning to turn, sensing danger too late, and her own body colliding with his as the arrow meant for his heart buried itself deep into her shoulder instead. The pain was wrong. It didn't burn like normal silver. It consumed. Black veins spiderwebbed from the wound, crawling up her neck like hungry fingers. She heard screaming, her own voice, raw and animal. The curse mark on the arrow activated immediately, recognizing it had struck flesh, not caring whose. Sera, the Alpha King's voice cut through her agony. Strong arms caught her before she hit the ground. Get the healers, now. But she could already feel it. The curse wasn't just killing her. It was rewriting something fundamental in her blood, twisting the Omega bonds that defined her very existence. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was his face above hers, those legendary silver eyes wide with something she'd never seen before. Fear. Sera woke to softness. Her entire life had been hard cots in the guards' barracks, thin blankets, and the constant smell of leather and steel. This was silk beneath her fingers, the scent of cedar and night-blooming jasmine, and warmth that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Her eyes snapped open. The ceiling above her was painted with constellations in gold leaf, the private chambers of the Alpha King. She'd guarded these doors 100 times but never crossed the threshold. Her hand flew to her shoulder, expecting agony, but found only smooth skin beneath soft linen. The wound closed 3 days ago. She jerked upright, immediately regretting it as the room spun. He was there, sitting in a chair beside the bed, watching her with an intensity that made her wolf whimper and press low. Alpha King Theron Bloodmoon, in casual clothes she'd never seen him wear, his dark hair disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it. Your Majesty, Her voice came out hoarse. She tried to stand, to bow, to do something appropriate. Don't, one word, but it froze her in place. Not an alpha command, something else. You took a cursed arrow meant to bind me to my murderer for eternity. The healers said you should have died within minutes. Why didn't I? She touched her shoulder again, feeling for any trace of the wound. His jaw tightened. Because I made a choice. The curse was designed to create a soul bond, to chain an Alpha King to whoever cast it, making him a puppet. When it struck you instead, he stood, pacing to the window. It tried to complete its purpose. It would have torn you apart looking for an alpha to bind you to. Sera's blood went cold. What did you do? Theron turned, and in the moonlight streaming through the window, she saw it, a mark on his neck, partially hidden by his collar. The same mark that suddenly burned on her own skin, just below her collarbone. I gave the curse what it wanted, he said quietly. An alpha to bind you to. Me. The room tilted. That's not possible. You're the Alpha King. I'm an Omega guard. The bond is real. His voice was rough and irreversible. Believe me, the healers tried everything. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Congratulations, Sera Whitlock. You're bound to me for the rest of our lives. She should have been horrified, should have been terrified, but the bond hummed between them, and underneath his careful control, she could feel something else. Something he was trying desperately to hide. Guilt, and beneath that, something warmer. The arrow, she managed. Who sent it? That's what I've been trying to figure out for 3 days while you slept in my bed. He gestured to papers scattered across a desk. The northern delegation was cleared, but someone got to them. Used them as cover. Sera forced herself to stand, ignoring how the bond pulled when she moved away from him. Years of training steadied her legs. Then we find them. Your Majesty, I'm still your guard. You can't be. The words were flat. You're bound to me now. The court will already be circulating rumors. An Omega guard, alone in my chambers for 3 days. He met her eyes. I've destroyed your life, Sera. The least I can do is protect your reputation. I'm declaring you my personal attendant. You'll have quarters in the royal wing, a salary that... No. His eyebrows rose. Few people interrupted an Alpha King. Whoever tried to kill you is still out there, Sera said, her voice stronger now. And this bond, you said it was irreversible. That means I can feel you now. Sense when you're in danger. She touched the mark on her collarbone, feeling it warm under her fingers. You need me close anyway. So let's use it. Let me do my job. It's not safe. I took a cursed arrow for you. The words burst out before she could stop them. I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because, she faltered, years of knowing her place crashing against something new and terrifying. Because why? He was closer now, moving with that predatory grace Alphas had. But there was something careful in his approach, something almost gentle. Because a kingdom needs its king, she whispered. And because in 3 years of guarding you, I've watched you care for your people like their family. You reformed the Omega laws. You ended the border wars. She swallowed hard. You're worth protecting. Theron stopped inches from her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. The bond isn't making you say this. The bond is making it very hard to think straight, she admitted. But my feelings, those were there before the arrow. Something shifted in his expression, that careful control cracking. Sera, I need you to understand something. I didn't just bind you to save your life. I could have let the curse fade, let you go. His voice dropped. But when I saw you dying, with that curse eating through you, I realized I couldn't. I wouldn't, and that has nothing to do with duty. Her breath caught. For 3 years, I've watched you too, he continued. Wondered why I always noticed when you were on duty. Why I felt safer with you nearby. Why I memorized your shift schedule. His hand rose, hovering near her face but not quite touching. So yes, I saved you. But maybe I was selfish too. The bond between them flared, and suddenly she could feel it, the depth of what he'd been hiding. Loneliness, longing, the weight of a crown that kept everyone at a distance except for one stubborn Omega guard who'd never looked at him with fear. We have to find who did this, Sera said, but she didn't step back. They'll try again. I know. His hand finally made contact, fingers gentle against her cheek. But right now, I'm just grateful you're alive. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility and the supernatural pull of a curse that had somehow become something else. A knock shattered the silence. Theron moved instantly, putting himself between Sera and the door. Enter. His first commander, Marcus, stepped in, his face grim. Your Majesty, the council has called an emergency session. They're demanding an explanation for. He glanced at Sera. The situation. Let them demand, Theron said coldly. There's more. Marcus's jaw tightened. We found evidence. The arrow was commissioned by someone inside the palace. Someone with access to the royal quarters. Sera's blood turned to ice. A traitor in the inner court. And they know their assassination attempt failed, Theron added, his voice deadly quiet. Which means, an explosion rocked the palace. The windows blew inward, glass shattering in a spray of moonlight and shadow. Sera moved on instinct, tackling Theron to the ground as flames erupted across the far wall. The bomb screamed in her chest, warning, protecting, demanding she keep him safe. Through the smoke and chaos, she heard laughter. A figure stepped through the burning wall, flames parting around them like water. Their face was hidden behind a silver mask, but their voice was familiar enough to make Sera's world tilt. Hello, brother, the figure said, and Sera felt Theron go rigid beneath her. Did you really think one failed curse would stop me from taking what's mine? Theron's growl was pure alpha dominance. Cain, surprised. You shouldn't be. The masked figure, Cain, Theron's supposedly dead brother, tilted his head towards Sera. And you brought a pet. How sweet. Does she know what you did to our family? The real reason I'm going to take your throne and watch you burn. Sera looked down at Theron, saw the anguish in his eyes, and felt through the bond a secret so dark it had shaped everything he'd become. The palace bells began to toll, a warning of attack, and in that moment, with flames rising and a ghost return to claim vengeance, Sera realized the cursed arrow had been just the beginning. What secret does the Alpha King hide? Can love forged in blood and curses survive the truth? Find out in the next chapter, only on The Story King, where every story crowns you with wonder.